I'm Insomniac, and this is the Orient SoMa. Before I get into this review, I'd like to give a big shout out to Rosemary. Some of you might have seen the Seiko Presage Cocktail Time review that I did, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago, something like that. That was also one of her watches. This is another one that she owns. But like I explained in that review, watches, depending on the size and style, for the most part, are unisex. So she owns quite a few watches that are very cool. So quite a few of the watches that she owns are unisex or men's watches, because really there's no such thing as a men's watch. Just matters whether or not it fits your wrist. And in fact, once you look at this watch more in depth on camera here, you're going to see why most people would actually probably first see this and think that it's a woman's watch. But if you look it up on just about any site that it's for sale on, it says men's watch. It's a smaller, kind of more delicate, kind of vintage aesthetic. But like I said, we will get into all of that in the review. Again, a big shout out to Rosemary. Let's get into the watch. The case on the Orient SoMa is a small diameter steel case, which, if you like a vintage aesthetic, is really a sweet spot size. It's finished in a polished gold. The finish is pretty well done, not the best I've seen, not on the level of, say, the Cocktail Time that you saw on this channel, but it's pretty good. The lugs coming off the round case have a short, dramatic downward curve to them, which from the top makes the diameter actually look a little bit larger, but in terms of relative comparison to most wrists, actually makes the diameter look a little bit smaller, yet at the same time, the thin height of the case again makes the diameter seem slightly larger. Pretty interesting. The case back is a polished screw-down solid case back with the Orient name and logo in the center, and a few pieces of various information about the watch lightly engraved into it. Then there's the crown, which is the perfect size for this case and has a fairly good grip to it for adjusting the time and date, but it's rather plain from the side. An Orient logo of some kind would have definitely done this crown some good. Overall, this case is simple, elegant, and has a good vintage vibe to it. Under the mineral crystal, you have a champagne-colored dial with a subtle but very nice guilloche-style texture, which really plays well with the light depending on the angle at which you're viewing the watch. The outer edge of the dial has a superfine cone-centric texturing, and printed onto that textured outer edge are your minute indices. You have largely printed black Roman numerals for your hour indices, with Orient Automatic printed in a squared-off section on the dial under the 12, and a date window down on top of the 6 numeral. Then you have the black hands, which match the indices perfectly while also offering a high degree of contrast against the champagne dial. The hour and minute hands are elegantly shaped, and all 3 hands, including the stick-style second hand, are the perfect length for this dial. My only complaint about this dial is the positioning of the date window. In terms of dial symmetry, I think the 6 o'clock position is excellent, but I would have liked to have either seen a smaller disc so that the date window could have been above the 6 numeral, or a complete deletion of the 6 numeral with the date window in its place. Having a third of the 6 showing there almost makes the date window look like an afterthought on the style. The only usable complication on this watch is the date, and despite my discrepancy with its position over the 6, it's large enough, cleanly done, and easy to read. Time at a glance on this piece is almost excellent. The contrast of the black hands and indices on a champagne dial are excellent, the length of the hands are perfect, and the Roman numerals for the hours are large and easy to find. My only complaint here is the minute track. Due to the tiny sliver of space available above those Roman numerals, there's only so much room for those tiny little stick-style indices, which makes them hard to find without a closer look at the dial. Personally, I would have extended them all the way to the outer edge of the dial to make them a bit more present and make the minute a little bit faster to find. The strap on this watch is pretty well done. It's a faux alligator pattern on brown leather, and it has a good quality look to it. It's decently thick with an almost pillowy raise in the upper centers. It's comfortable and so far has been fairly durable. The buckle is the perfect width for this strap, is polished and colored to match the case perfectly, and has the Orient name engraved into it. The free loops stay in place, the stitching is good, and it's a narrow width, but it's proportionately correct for this dial size and adds to the overall vintage vibe of this watch. And last but not least, we have value. The list price of this watch is listed as $280, and based on the Orient products that I've reviewed already on this channel, I'd say $280 is a fair price alone, but there are quite a few other watches that could compete with this and that I think are just as good a value. So I would only say that that's a fair value, but that's not the selling price of this watch, obviously. As of the time of this review, I saw this watch on one reputable retailer's website for $119. For that price, this is a great value. You're getting a solid quality casual dress watch with an in-house mechanical movement for the price that you'd normally pay for a quartz watch that really isn't in this quality bracket. So if you like the small-faced vintage type aesthetic that this watch has to offer, it's a great value at $119. Well, again, a big shout out to Rosemary for lending this watch for review. Very cool. If you have any watches you would like to see reviewed on this channel, you'd like to see what type of score they would get, I will review them and send them back to you. Email me at shouldItimethis@gmail.com and I will tell you where to send it. I will review them, insure them, send them back. And of course, if you would like to support the channel and also have 1 week early access to all of my brand new watch reviews, sign up at the link at the top of the video description. That is my Patreon page. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.